welcome everyone to the North Fair Oaks Community Council meeting for the month of February 2021. And Sandy, if you can take us through roll call, that would be great.
Let's try again. Chair Everardo Rodriguez.
Present.
Juan Carlos Prado, Vice Chair.
Present.
Council Member Beatriz Cerrillo.
Present.
Council Member Linda Lopez.
Here.
Council Member Blair Whitney.
Present here.
Council Member Jennifer Ruiz. Council Member Joni Gillespie. And Council Member Brooks Esser.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. Yeah, I haven't heard back from either Jennifer or Joanny. I wrote individually to each of them, but I hope that they're doing okay. In any case, there is public comment. Anyone may speak up to 2 minutes on any topic not on the agenda tonight. If you wish to do so, you will need to raise your hand, and so that Sandra Becerra can unmute you and direct you when you can start. There are 2 minutes allowed for public comment, so we ask that you please keep to that time. And the council may not discuss or take any actions on items that are not on the agenda. Do we have any public comment? Sandra?
For those attending the meeting, if you have any public comment, now would be the time to please raise your hand using the raise hand feature. And I don't see any raised hands. And Victor, are there any public comments on the phone line?
Thank you, Sandy. I don't see any at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much. And for the next item, we have to do the yearly exercise of elections for officers. Specifically to elect a chairperson and a vice chair. Their responsibilities, as you know, for these are varied, and they include higher involvement of community activities, joining community committees to support the county, higher level representation before the San Mateo County and the larger community as well, when they reach out to our council, organizing and participating in community events and several other activities that may arise. So definitely this ends up taking more time than the usual conducting the meetings, the regular meetings and the study sessions, which are of course then required almost for the chair and often for the vice chair as well, because they are the ones who are supposed to be running the meetings. And in the past, our council has done slate nominations, and that seems to be more efficient. So in the interest of time, I recommend that maybe we do the same. Basically, any council member can nominate someone for either post. Only we recommend that you nominate that your nomination be judicious and based on your observations of the council member's involvement and the work in the community, as well as his or her responsiveness and responsibility to the work we do as council and to advance or to promote our community. Before I open the floor for nominations, I would like to announce that I'm stepping down of the chairmanship and that I'd rather not be nominated for either post at this point. I've been the chairman for 4 years, and I would like to open this opportunity to someone else who may have sufficient time to take on this responsibility to advance our council and improve it, or improve our community. However, I will remain as a regular member of our council and as active stakeholder, and I look forward to continue making contributions to both our council and to the community of North Fair Oaks, and of course supporting whoever comes on board as the chair or the vice chair with anything that I can with the experience that I've gained through these 4 years that I've been the chair. I'd like to ask one question to County Council before we start, and that is, can people self-nominate themselves, Tim?
Yes, they can.
Oh, okay.
There's no rule against it, and there's no requirement that anyone abstain from a vote on the question of their election to an office.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I wanted to clarify. So if you want to do so, don't be shy. It is allowed, and so that's great. So let's proceed. And as the chairman, I've had the opportunity to interview and know some of you a little deeper and see the potential that you have and your commitment more closely. And I would like to start the nomination process by nominating Brooks Esser as the next chair and Councilmember Linda Lopez as the vice chair, if they both have the time and accept. Although Brooks is new to the council, he has shown tremendous interest and commitment by attending our meetings even before he was appointed as council member. And he has taken on council responsibilities early on, as you all know. And I believe that with the guidance and the assistance of Linda Lopez, who has been a councilwoman for many, many years, with her experience and support, I think they both would do a great service to our council and our community. And with that, if anyone else has any other suggestion for a nomination, please go ahead.
Linda has her hand up.
I see Linda has her hand up. Go ahead, Linda.
Yes. So I would accept the nomination unless somebody else is dying to do it. If someone is really strongly wanting the position, then I would step aside. But other than that, I also support Brooks Esser. He has shown a lot of interest. Well, everybody shows interest in the beginning, but his interest has continued. And it seems that his level of participation has increased. I think that I've seen him involved in other meetings and group settings. And I think that's extremely important for the chair, not just to be, with the council, but also to keep your eyes on what's going on in the big picture. So as far as my personal nomination, I would accept it again, though, unless someone who has not sat in that position before is really wanting to increase their level of participation.
Thank you, Linda. And go ahead, Blair.
All right. I think we're doing a disservice by doing slates. I really like the idea of the runner-up being the vice chair, with the idea that they're progressing to the office and that they're already stepping up their commitment. So I'm going to end my ramble by saying I'm nominating Juan Carlos as chair. And I really don't want to, I guess I'll nominate Brooks as vice chair, but I really object to slates. I think it's undemocratic and inappropriate, but whatever. It's what it is.
And that's fair if council members wish to do things differently. We don't have to do slates. We can do voting separately for posts. Mm-hmm. But I'd like to hear from others what they think.
Mm-hmm.
Can I make one comment? The Board of Supervisors elects a president, and that's for 1 year. So last year, Warren Slocum was the president. And that doesn't mean that he's on every committee and the sole spokesperson for the Board of Supervisors. I think a healthy community board has all the members involved to various degrees, and the chair, whoever is selected, ropes people in and finds where their niche is and gets them involved on committees. But there's like a tendency in the past of like only the chair speaks for the entire council and gets invited to every single committee the county puts together. Anyway, that's all I got.
Yeah, and I'm not sure why that is, because the names and the contact information for all council members are publicly displayed at the same level in the county website. But I think it's just that by default, people who are looking to get connected with our council, for some reason, they think that they need to talk to the top person, which happens to be the chair. Occasionally, I guess they may contact the vice chair, but it's, maybe it is the system, how it is designed that, usually things get funneled, automatically by, via the president or the director or the executive director, and so forth. I think that in the case of the supervisors, it is a bit different because each of them are responsible for separate areas and they have their different constituents. And for example, somebody from Daly City wouldn't be able to do much, if they were to contact Mr. Slocum, who's from a different district. But yeah, I hear what you say, Blair. It's just that I think, it is sort of by default that takes place. But we had a recent conversation when we were creating the agenda, and we were thinking about getting council members more involved in providing more time for council members' reports so that we can announce opportunities for involvement in various committees that are taking place, either here in North Fair Oaks or in the district or at the county level, so that all the council members can also learn about opportunities for engagement and participation as well. Some of us, may be involved in other committees, and that's another thing that we don't know. For example, I'm not sure if Beatrice is involved or part of any committee, just because we rarely get to talk, in person. Occasionally, I've seen, for example, Linda in a couple of committees that we just happen to be, part of it, and that's how I know that she is part of it, that committee as well. But in any case, we are trying to provide for more opportunities for involvement and engagement, and we're going to make sure that that we allocate more time to council members' reports to distribute, some of those or announce some of those opportunities. Go ahead, Beatrice. You had a comment.
I'd like to nominate Blair either for chair or vice chair. Him and I have worked together when we were able to be present in different committees in person, and we would work well together and also represent the council well together. And I feel that he is very involved in his neighborhood, taking actions, participating, and I feel that it's continual, and I feel that he'd be, he'd make a good chair or vice chair.
Thank you, Beatrice. I'll have to ask County Council. So in this case, does a council member Cirillo, does she need to make a specific nomination because she said either for chair or vice chair? Does she need to pick either or?
Yes.
Ultimately, yes. I think I would recommend that, but I think that it's also traditional in a nomination process for officers on a board like the North Fair Oaks Council, for the nomination process to be one where people propose the names for offices, and then the person named indicates whether or not they would serve. And I think we're sort of doing that in some sense. And then once people feel that they've nominated all the folks that they want to, I probably would suggest that somebody make a motion, knowing all the people who've been nominated and who have accepted the nomination, make a motion for the election of a particular person to the role of chair, and then see whether or not there are adequate votes to elect the person to that office, because at that point, everybody will know what their other options are when the vote is held. Does that make sense?
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, and actually, Blair has just answered that that question. He just posted in the chat saying that he declines the chair, but he would accept the vice chair nomination.
Okay, through the chair, may I suggest that we do one position at a time? So right now there are 2 nominations that are from the floor. One is for Brooks and one is for Juan Carlos. For the position of chair. So can we just get through that first and then do the next position for vice chair? So basically, we're just getting the nominations from the floor.
Sure. Yeah. If council members feel that doing it separately works better, that we can proceed that way. Just before we get to a vote, I have to ask if there are any other nominations from anyone else, or is that all? Okay, I don't see any hands raised or hear any comments, so I'm going to assume that there are only 2 nominations for a chair, one for Brooks Esser and one for Juan Carlos Prado.
And through the chair, have both accepted the nomination? I saw Brooks accepted. Did Juan Carlos accept?
Yeah, go ahead, Juan Carlos.
Yeah, I did write down
Oh,
a
okay.
couple of minutes ago. I do accept the vice chair and I decline the chair nomination.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Juan.
Okay, so I guess if there isn't any other nomination for the chair, then I think the only nomination will be Brooks Esser. In which case, do we need to vote, Tim, or we just need to make a motion?
Yes, you make a motion for the election of Brooks Esser to the role of chair.
Okay.
Okay,
And accept a second.
can I get a motion from any council
I
members?
motion that Brooks Esser be nominated as council chair.
And I second that motion.
Okay, technically, the motion should be to elect Brooks Esser the chair of the North Fair Oaks Community Council
Okay.
for the coming term. He's already been nominated. The question
Oh,
is his
right.
election.
I'm sorry. Yes, you're correct. Okay. I know there's a formal way to rescind my motion. Well, it hasn't been seconded, so I'll just take it off the table. So I motion that Brooks Esser be elected as council chair.
And I second that motion.
Great, so the motion carries and Brooks Esser will
No,
be
no,
the chair.
no, we have to have a roll call vote. Yeah,
That's
sorry.
right, we have to take it to a vote, sorry, yeah. Sandy, can you take us through the vote, please?
Absolutely. Chair Rodriguez,
Yes,
Vice Chair Juan Carlos Prado,
Yes.
Councilmember Beatriz Cerrillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Linda Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Blair Whitney,
Yes.
Councilmember Jennifer Ruiz, Councilmember Joni Gillespie, and Councilmember Brooks Esser.
Yes.
Thank you.
great, thank you and congratulations, Brooks.
All right.
Welcome.
Thanks to everyone for your support, obviously, and in particular, I'd like to thank Ever for his work leading the council over the last 4 years. I'll be working with him a great deal over the coming months to get up to speed on leading the organization and chart the course of the council. So thank you all very much.
Of course, thank you. So let's proceed with nominations for vice chair. If you
So through the
will,
chair,
please.
there are two that have come from the floor. We have Juan Carlos, and he's accepted the nomination, and then Blair has, I believe, accepted. Is that correct, Blair?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what, okay, all right.
And
What-
I had also nominated Linda as vice
Oh,
chair.
yeah, that's
Linda,
right.
would you accept that post as well?
I would well, Juan Carlos has been in that position. So
Right.
if he's wanting to continue, and then Blair, it would be a new position for Blair. I will step back from this through the chair. I step back. I do not accept the nomination.
Sounds good. Is there anyone else who would like to nominate somebody else or the self for the post of vice chair? I don't see any hands raised or hear any comments, so I will assume that the only candidates for vice chair are Juan Carlos and Blair.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Chair Rodriguez. I just
Yeah.
admitted Councilmember Jennifer Ruiz, so that may change the outcome.
Oh, okay.
Councilmember Ruiz, are you
I'm here.
perfect?
Welcome, Jennifer. So we are going through nominations for a vice chair. we have just voted in Brooks Esser as the next chair for the North Fair Oaks Community Council. And now Blair Whitney and Juan Carlos Prado have been nominated as vice chair. Juan Carlos Prado is currently, he has been the vice chair for the past year. Blair Whitney has not been the vice chair. So do you have any nomination from any council member?
No, I don't.
Okay, would you like vice chair?
No.
Okay, thank you. So then we will proceed with the vote. Can you, do we need a motion?
So probably given the format of the meeting, an electronic meeting over the internet, because of the requirements for votes to be held publicly, I would still suggest, even though this particular office is a contested election, that the most elegant solution would be for a person to propose a motion that one of the two be elected to the role of vice chair. And everyone will just need to keep in mind that they would need to vote no on the motion if it was their intention to vote for the second candidate. So while it can be a bit awkward, I cannot think of a better way, unfortunately, under the electronic constraints that we have to accomplish the vote. We can't do it by really any other means, I would say. I can't think of a more elegant way to do it. So I would suggest that a motion would be in order to elect one of the two to the role of vice chair. And again, it would be the ability of each member of the council to vote no on the motion if it was their intention to elect the other nominated person.
Sounds good. Thank you for the clarification, Tim. So I can entertain.
I move that we elect Juan Carlos as vice chair.
So does that mean that you are withdrawing, Blair?
Yeah, let's just get it over with. The meeting's going to be long enough as it is.
Okay.
Then I will second the motion to elect Juan Carlos as vice chair.
Sounds good. So Sandy, if you can take us through the vote for that.
Absolutely. Chair Everardo Rodriguez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Juan Carlos Prado,
Yes.
Council Member Beatriz Cerrillo,
Yes.
Council Member Linda Lopez,
Yes.
Council Member Blair Whitney,
Yes.
Council Member Jennifer Reese,
Yes.
Council Member Joni Gillespie, Council Member Brooks Esser.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you all, and congratulations to Juan Carlos for a continued term as vice chair. Great. And Linda, did you raise your hand or you just didn't?
I did earlier, and then I took it down because everybody was talking. So, but I had to make a comment real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
There was some discussion about when we were talking about level of how council members participate outside of the council. I just wanted to make the comment that I think it's the council members' responsibility to seek out opportunities to get involved and participate in other non-council business in North Fair Oaks, and not to wait for people to invite you in. It's a matter of getting the information and being aware of what else is going on. And if there's something of interest, then you get in there. But nobody should be waiting around to be invited anywhere. There's so much going on in North Fair Oaks and San Mateo County. So, it's just a matter of checking it out. Where's your interest? where do you want to participate, and go for it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, Linda. It is true, although occasionally, our council gets sporadic general invitations to participate, in like a community cleanout or the kermés that the library used to put together every year, and those sort of things. Sometimes we hear about them, but it is true that for the most part, one can seek out those opportunities and make them happen. So thank you. And is there any public comment for this item, Sandy?
If you'd like to make a public comment, please use the raise hand feature on Zoom for any participants. Okay, I don't see any other raised hands. Victor, are there any public comments on the phone line?
Thanks, Sandy. I don't see any at the moment.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so let's move on to the next item. Number 4, and we will have a presentation about the restaurant, brewery, and winery relief grant for small businesses. Is going to be a presentation by Miles Tucker, a manager analyst for County of San Mateo, and Don Cecil, a public and government affairs consultant for SAMCIDA. So welcome. Thank you.
Hi there, and good evening to everyone. Thank you for having us here, Chair Rodriguez and members of the council. Also want to thank Sandy and for helping to facilitate this, as well as Emma and her entire team. I'm going to share my screen here real quick with everyone as we jump into this presentation about the County of San Mateo Restaurant, Brewery, and Winery Relief Program. Before getting into the contents of the presentation, you'll see here that there's a few logos on the screen, and I think it's appropriate to start by saying the members of this team and the funding. So this is a program that's being managed by the County of San Mateo, but it was started through a contribution of $1 million from the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative to fund restaurants in South San Mateo County, to include North Fair Oaks, as well as the city of Palo Alto. The county expanded it countywide through a contribution of general fund and CARES dollars, and through other contributions from the Silicon Valley Community Foundation and the San Mateo Credit Union Community Fund. And all of this has been coordinated through a large team of both county staff, as well as just the outstanding work of SAMCIDA and our local chambers. And Don Cecil is here with me. He's from SAMCIDA, and we couldn't ask for a better partner with them. So going into these slides, which I believe Sandy has a PDF copy of, and they're going to be distributed both to the public and to this council. So as I go through, I won't dive into all of the words on the slides, but I'd like to talk on just some of the few key points. So the program objective is to support our restaurants, breweries, and wineries that have been economically impacted by COVID-19, and to provide this assistance in a manner that's direct, straightforward, and upfront, in a streamlined manner that can help these businesses stay afloat. We know that restaurants, breweries, and wineries have been disproportionately impacted and severely impacted as a result of the economic impact of the pandemic. So this program helps to target those specifically locally small business restaurants, breweries, and wineries. Again, already covered over this, the initial $1 million commitment was from CZI, matched by funds from the Credit Union Community Fund and the Silicon Valley Community Foundation, at which point the county jumped in and contributed another $1 million to bring it countywide. Of note, cities, towns, and other community foundations, other potential donors are being asked to match funding for this as well. So who are we coordinating with? So I did mention we're working heavily with SAMCIDA, Chamber San Mateo County, CZI, other chambers, but we're touching all the bases possible, whether that's groups like yours, leaders in the community who have relationships with restaurateurs, with other small business owners, and just have a pulse for the neighborhood. We want to pass this information along to you so you can spread this to your networks, so you can have as many people apply to this program as possible. Again, we're also using county agencies, multilingual traditional media. Of note, all of our outreach is being done in English, Spanish, Tagalog, and Chinese. So we're trying to cover as much as we feasibly can here in a short period of time to make sure these funds are out the door. So again, this targets restaurants, breweries, and wineries. The breweries and wineries need to have a requisite ABC license, but our restaurants specifically, they need to be brick and mortar institutions, and they have to have a full service kitchen. So what this means to us is no food trucks, cottage industry kitchens, micro kitchens, pop-ups. Those sort of establishments unfortunately don't qualify under this program, but it's really these full service kitchens. And we are providing grants up to $10,000 each. We're not requesting that these businesses provide any sort of profit or loss statements. We're not telling them to provide any sort of tax documents. We're simply asking them to attest to our program criteria. And if they are selected, which will be a random process, to provide an environmental health permit. If they're in North Fair Oaks, there's no business license since the county doesn't have that, and some identification of the ownership. Restaurant owners don't need to be US citizens to qualify for this. So the application portal is currently open. It's open until Monday, March 8th at 12 p.m. It is not a first come, first serve program. We're accepting applications throughout the entire process. And should these restaurants, breweries, or wineries be found to be eligible, they'll be drawn at random. So folks have up until that Monday, March 8th deadline to apply. Now, who qualifies? In addition to being a brick and mortar restaurant or having the requisite ABC licenses, they need to have been open prior to March 11th of last year when the county declared its public health emergency. They need to be open right now, which means for us, they need to be providing food service or food or beverage related goods at the point of sale. They can be takeout, it can be dine-in, it can be show up at the door, and we're selling our homemade pasta sauces. The analogy I've been saying, this hypothetical situation, say my restaurant has a great pasta sauce, I'm canning it and I'm selling it on site. That counts. The applicants have to attest that they've been adversely impacted by COVID-19. Again, we're not asking for proof of this. If they're a restaurant and they're still open now, we know they've been impacted. This specifically targets our small businesses, the folks who really form the cornerstone of our communities and our downtowns, which means folks, these can't be corporate, and folks who apply can't own more than 5 restaurants, breweries, or wineries in the county. And they need to be operating within all applicable regulations. Now, who doesn't qualify? Again, pop-ups, food trucks, home-based businesses, catering companies, micro kitchens. These folks unfortunately don't qualify, and neither do restaurants that operate in hotels that have the same permit as the hotel. You know, some restaurateurs have restaurants that are separate and they just happen to be co-located in a hotel, they're fine. But if the restaurant owns the hotel, then they don't qualify. Corporate-owned franchises do not qualify. And recipients of some prior county grants won't qualify. These grants that are in the fall that are listed here, we're going to be cross-checking applicants. If they receive funding from those 2 grant programs, they're unfortunately ineligible, as well as folks who are participating in the county's Great Plates Delivered program and have earned over $200,000 in revenue from there. If folks have gotten a PPP loan, if folks have gotten its Small Business Administration loan, if folks have gotten a state loan, or if they got a county loan from one of our programs in the springtime, last spring, they will still qualify and be eligible for this grant. So the evaluation process, as I noted, it's not a first come, first serve process. We're going to be compiling all the applications that were submitted on time. We're going to vet them for eligibility, and we're going to compile them all into geographic buckets based on population. It's the same criteria we did for the small business grants in the spring. So ones who are found eligible, for example, in North Fair Oaks, we've actually carved out North Fair Oaks from this. CZI specifically called out North Fair Oaks as one of the areas that they'd like to fund through their contribution of this grant. So North Fair Oaks has a certain number of grants that will have eligible. All the applicants who are found to be eligible will be put in pool, and we will basically assign them numbers at random and draw those numbers at random. We'll do a digital equivalent of pulling a number out of a hat. And that's how we'll be selecting. And once the folks are selected, we're going to contact them by phone and by email, let them know, please submit the required documents. They'll have a few days to do that, at which point we'll vet those and we'll get the money out the door. How you can help. As I mentioned earlier, we're doing outreach to community groups, to community leaders like yourself, so that you can spread this far and wide. You know North Fair Oaks better than almost anyone. You're connected to the community, and we need your help to spread this word as far and wide. We have outreach material in all 4 languages I had mentioned earlier. We're happy to provide whatever resources in terms of material that you may need, you know, whether it's a PDF of a flyer you can print out, whether it's some talking points, we're happy to take those efforts. But whatever you need to spread that word within North Fair Oaks, again, there's a dedicated stream of funding that's based on locality that's available to the restaurants. And right now, North Fair Oaks specifically is an area we're looking at. We've had just shy of 540 applications within the first 4 days of us opening, either 3.5 days of us opening. Only 3 of them are from North Fair Oaks. We need to do a better job as a county, as a team, in reaching out. We're hitting all our resources on our end. Every single restaurant that has an environmental health permit is going to be getting a mailer next week. Those hit the mail today. They're going to be getting a mailer. They all received emails. For those who have email, we're doing door-to-door through some of our business outreach teams. But we also need your help because right now we've, again, only had 3 applicants from North Fair Oaks. There's more grants that are available than 3. Right now for North Fair Oaks, so we need your help in getting the word out. And with that, again, some basic information that's provided here, provided to this council to include hotline assistance numbers for folks who may need assistance with their application, as well as where folks can find data. With that, happy to answer any questions you may have. And again, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak about this outstanding opportunity for some of these anchors of our neighborhood. So thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Miles, for the presentation. Yeah, council members with questions, please raise your hand. I see Linda Lopez has hers up. Go ahead, Linda.
Thank you. So you gave an example of somebody packaging tomato sauce. And was that to sell in their restaurant? Was that what that is?
Yeah, so an example we're using for the requirement of businesses needing to be open at the time of application. Say, for example, the business owner didn't feel comfortable bringing staff in at this point in time, but still felt that they had the capability to continue serving a product, continue serving their community. And I use the example of pasta sauce because it's an easy example of a restaurant's product that, you know, maybe something they're willing to sell, and they sell it basically at the storefront. It's not, you know, quote, takeout food, but they're selling food or beverage on location.
What is the difference between that and home kitchen operation that you have listed as a business that doesn't qualify for the grant? What is the difference between that? I don't see the difference myself.
Yeah, so Linda, I don't think we're anticipating that there is a restaurant that has completely ceased food operations, but we do see that there are some restaurants that have opened up little mini grocery stores inside, or they're selling, you know, a certain number of products just to expand their potential revenue stream. This is focused on a brick and mortar, full service kitchen restaurant because, and one that is open and operating, because we hope that this money not only saves that business, but has a ripple effect on its operation. So it's employing people, it's paying payroll. This might help them pay some rent that they were unable to pay before. If they're operating, they're buying goods and services, which has that ripple effect of helping other vendors, and those vendors are employing people. So we're looking at helping the individual business and then also trying to stimulate the local economy with these extra dollars.
Okay, thank you. I have just a one more question through the chair. So you said that there were 540 applications already submitted, but 3 were only from North Fair Oaks. Is that because of a lack of outreach, or do you think it's the method of outreach? Or why?
No, I think what we're here tonight for,
on the outcome.
I mean, our best guess is that, we learned a lot of lessons over the course of 2020 with our various grant programs, the small business grants, the childcare grants, nonprofit grants. So unfortunately, we know that having to upload information into a website is a barrier to entry, sometimes for minority-owned business owners. We also know that these business owners are working every day to fight to keep their restaurants open. And so we've tried to do things by having a very simple application, not requiring anyone to scan tax returns or find profit and loss statements. This is a very basic process, but they do need to have a computer or a smartphone and internet access to do it. Okay. I think the barrier to entry is a few things. One, it's new. People are stretched thin. And what we hope to ask all of you to help us with tonight is we can provide to Sandra a whole suite of materials, social media posts that are in 4 languages, flyers that can be handed out if someone had the time to walk Middlefield Road. The flyers are in English, Spanish, Chinese, and Tagalog. They have a QR code that someone just has to scan with their smartphone, and it takes them right to the application portal. We have submitted this to Peninsula 360, so they're going to do a story on it. The Peninsula Chinese Business Association did a Chinese radio program interview that runs in the morning. And if the county PIO's office has pushed this out through all of their various channels, which includes ethnic media. And thanks to the leadership of Emma and her office, there was an interview on Univision that I think ran last night. But nothing replaces any of you knowing a business owner or frequenting your favorite, restaurant or taqueria on Middlefield and handing them a flyer that says, "You have until March 8th to apply for $10,000. Please take the time to do it."
Okay, and what is the Community Affairs Department are they just going to continue with the flyers or Univision marketing, or so that's going to be going on anyway, correct? Or not? I don't know.
It is an all hands on deck to get the information out.
Okay.
But all of you as community, as council members, have relationships, have your own social media. And so what we're asking you to do, to the extent that you are comfortable posting on social media, sending out an email, some of you may be comfortable walking Middlefield Road this weekend and handing out the flyers in a safe way with the mask and all the protocols in place. Anything you can do will just help us deepen the awareness of this program.
Okay. Thank you very much, Don. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you. And I think Blair had his hand raised. Go ahead.
I just want to praise the program and everyone that came together to make this happen. I watched the Great Plates program, and I remember asking at the time, how many of these contracts for making meals for seniors and folks stuck at home went to North Fair Oaks businesses? And there were like 2. And I was thinking, we're delivering a lot of meals here. We have a lot of people in the food and beverage industry. And I asked at the time, and they said there were language barriers and there was some intimidation. So I like the fact that it's streamlined. I recognize that we're not one homogeneous county, that there's a whole bunch of different silos of communities, the Coastside community, the Burlingame community, the North Fair Oaks community. And we share maybe the geographic boundaries of El Camino and 101 and 280, but they're asking for help, and I'm ready to step up. I'll walk with flyers and volunteer to. If I haven't tried a business yet, I will go in and I will order something and sample it, and I will report back, and then I'll give them a flyer as like a $10,000 tip. Like, hey, get your son, your daughter, your cousin, get their cell phone, because a lot of times when you're older, you're intimidated by technology. We really could use like a high school ambassadors program or community college student ambassadors program, working either with SAMSETA or community affairs or both. And if there could be like a drop-in center at the Fair Oaks, the North Fair Oaks County Library branch, with language services, like if you do the best that you can and bring in what you have on 6 p.m. on what's the Monday evening. You know, most restaurants, if they take a break, there's a slow day. Tuesday, whatever it is, just don't do it Friday or Saturday night and expect them to show up, because they got to sell whatever they can sell. But I'm not bilingual. You know, I did a couple of years of junior high school Spanish, but I can carry the message and say, there's more help, call these numbers. And I really like the credit union. They've really stepped up during COVID. I'm a member, and I'm proud of them reinvesting in the community and doing all they can to make this accessible. All right, that's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you, Blair. And Brooks, go ahead.
Yeah, through the chair, just a question for Sandy and Emma. If we could put this information up on nfoforward.org and our Facebook page, Spanish and English, I think that would be a terrific start. And I too would, as soon as I can get the flyers in both languages, I'll be on Middlefield Road doing this. It would be just an absolute shame to let funds designated for North Fair Oaks restaurants go to waste, and having only 3 applications means obviously that's happening right now.
Well, and the good news is, again, one of our big lessons learned, we didn't want people to have the anxiety on top of trying to run a business and keep it open, of having to be sitting in front of a computer at 12:01 and try and, complete the application. So someone can complete it tonight, they can complete it next Monday, they can complete it the following Sunday. It's just got to be done by Monday at noon. And so we wanted to give people plenty of time and to make it as simple as possible. And I mean, here's what I can tell you. The people that you see in the boxes in front of you, Sandra, Miles, Emma, Justin, I have never had the pleasure of working with a more incredible group of people than the County of San Mateo. And CZI stepped up and made this possible. The Board of Supervisors did what it has done so many times, and they stepped up and matched it or exceeded it. The Chamber San Mateo, SAMSETA, CZI, the county. I mean, we want to save every last business that we possibly can. And that's the guiding principle. So.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a way, if you already have printed materials, if you can make them available somehow to us, I can pick them up, or if they can be dropped off at any of our places. I think it would be best, and that way we can all distribute them. I've certainly, ever since the opportunity came out, I shared it right away in social media, and people seemed excited. I talked to a couple of restaurant owners, and one was concerned that this was going to have to be paid back. I clarified that no. And then another person was discouraged because that person had applied for federal and then state and never got anything. So, a lot of it is the result of people not getting anything at the beginning. And I think, they saw that time as wasted, and perhaps they are considering that they don't want to waste more time, unfortunately. But certainly we can do, what we can to walk up and down, some of those businesses and advertise that. Now, if businesses benefited from previous federal, state, or county opportunities, they can still apply for these. Is that correct?
Certain grant opportunities. So there are 2 grant opportunities that the county provided in the fall, and they're in the slides that were presented here. If those restaurants, breweries, or wineries receive grant funding through those 2 programs, unfortunately, they would not qualify for this one. The same goes for restaurants that have earned over $200,000 in revenue from the Great Plates Delivered program. Those folks would be ineligible. However, like I did mention, for any prior state or federal grant, folks are eligible to apply. And same thing for the county grants that were granted from last summer and last spring. So long as those establishments are otherwise eligible, they are able to apply for these grants.
Thank you. And I know Emma has her hand raised, but I wanted to ask, because this question may very well be answered by her or her team. Have North Fair Oaks businesses been sent notifications of this opportunity? I know that Office of Community Affairs had a list of businesses they had been doing outreach before. Go ahead, Emma.
Yes, through the chair. Yes, thank you very much. So the announcement was made on Monday, but just to kind of give some background, our office is working very closely with Cecil, Miles, and doing all the translation, as well as we were ready and positioned to do outreach. And Jose went out, did door-to-door canvassing businesses. Here's a copy of what was distributed, hand-delivered, as well as we did a NEO through an email blast to all our businesses. In addition to that, did a text base. So all that was completed earlier this week. And as you can see here, it's very detailed, English and Spanish, but more importantly, it was an in-person conversation that took place with each one of our North Fair Oaks businesses. And then you could also see that we posted it and shared that through the North Fair Oaks forward page on Tuesday as well. So immediately we got the information out as quickly as we could. We knew it was out on Monday. By Tuesday, announcements were out and distributed to our community members.
Thank you for all that effort, Emma.
Thank you, Emma. Beatrice had a hand up. Go ahead, Beatrice.
What is the total businesses that we're talking about in North Fair Oaks? Do we have like a rough number? I don't remember.
Right now, it's any business that is, as Don had mentioned, these are brick and mortar, full kitchen restaurants, as well as breweries and wineries. To get a full list it's challenging for us to do since there's no business licensing in North Fair Oaks. We are primarily using the county's other departments, other folks who can send us lists, that restaurants would apply to specifically. We have a health department, so we can ask for, a list of that, but it's well curated, but curated to a degree. We're always worried that we're going to miss one or two off. So we are doing outreach through every single avenue that we possibly can, to Don's point. I just also do want to call out Emma and her team again, just the outstanding support that they've been providing from the top down to get this word out. Because we know you all, especially here, also have an idea of who is still open, who is still there. I know in certain areas and other parts of the county, unfortunately, some of these businesses have already ceased operations, but we are here in part to spread this word as much as possible, to make sure we reach as broad of a universe as possible for this program, to make sure we touch every single possible eligible restaurant, brewery, or winery here.
I guess I'm very confused, and I need clarity, because my thinking is, are we speaking about mostly Middlefield? Are we speaking about Middlefield plus the sprinkling of other little maybe restaurants throughout, the other avenues. I don't know. I like numbers. So my thinking goes to how many were pre, how many are post. So I'm really at a loss as far as like how many actual places folded and we're seeing like empty places. I don't know. So this is very confusing because most of the people I know are food trucks, are the kitchen people. They don't qualify. So my thinking is that where can we maybe develop in the future, have stepping stones toward the people who are now as a means of some type of employment? That's the only means they have, but maybe navigating them through a process so that maybe someday, one day, they can be eligible for something like this in the future. That's just my thought.
I guess what I can say is between now and March 8th, unfortunately, we're focused on what we're focused on through the eligibility of the program. And when I think of, it's not just Middlefield, the boundaries of North Fair Oaks also have commercial on El Camino Real and on the streets that are off of Middlefield. Mm-hmm. And so we're focused on those brick and mortar full service kitchens with this program. Okay. The county and the Board of Supervisors, the county manager's office, Emma's team and many other people are focused on long-term small business support and workforce development. So those ideas and those policy initiatives are certainly being thought about. But for this program, we're focused on a business that has managed to survive in the restaurant industry within the eligibility criteria and trying to get as many $10,000 grants out as we can. And we haven't finished with our fundraising efforts. We have the money that we have right now, but we are, about to embark upon conversations with foundations, major employers, property owners. So we hope to have more funding because what we know for sure is we'll have more applications when the portal closes on March 8th from North Fair Oaks and every other community in the county than we have money for.
Correct. All right.
Any additional questions?
Yeah, through the chair, I had my hand raised, sorry. My question is regarding the dollar amount. Beatrice, I too like the numbers. Is it known what of all the businesses, let's just say for the Middlefield Road business district, of all those businesses that have been contacted or outreached, is there any knowledge of what the actual dollar amount is? Because we're talking about, or this program is what, 10,000 per business, I believe you said? Is that correct?
Yes, through the chair, it's 10,000.
So, I mean, is there any knowledge or about what numbers are we looking at as far as North Fair Oaks business district? Is that was maybe not part of the outreach? I don't know, but it's just something to consider because I'm curious to see. I'm sure with additional outreach, you are going to get more applications. I'm very confident about that. But it's a matter of getting money to the businesses that might have some priority over others, not only geographically, but need-wise. So I was just curious if anyone's looking at numbers. That's it. Thank you.
Brooks, did you raise your hand or you just didn't lower it?
Didn't lower it from before, Everardo.
Okay, so with that, let's see if there's any public comment on this item.
you'd like to go ahead and make a public comment, please use the raise hand feature at this time. And I don't see any raised hands. Victor, are there any comments on the phone line?
Thank you, Sandra. I don't see any at the moment.
Okay, thank you so much. Back to you, Chair.
Great, thank you. And so County Council reminded me that since essentially Brooks was sort of like, sworn in as the next chair, that he can very well take over the meeting. So Brooks, I just sent you the agenda via the chat, so you can open it up. And next is item 5. So if you don't mind taking over, that'll be great.
Next item is item 5. It's a presentation, San Mateo County 101 Express Lanes project. We're going to get an update as well as equity alternatives. Presentation is by Lacey Vong. She's a senior policy planner, SMC 101 Express Lanes project. And we also have Autumn Bernstein, who's a project manager for SMC 101 Express Lanes equity study. Is Lacey going to kick this off, or would that be Autumn?
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Actually, this is Autumn. I'm going to go ahead and kick it off. We've been told we have a pretty limited amount of time, so we want to just make sure we move really quickly. So I will go ahead and share my screen to get us going. One moment, please. Okay. Hopefully you can see that. Can everyone see the slides?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. So again, my name is Autumn Bernstein. I'm a senior transportation planner with ARIP, and I am the program manager for the equity program study for the express lanes. And we had the opportunity, my team, of interviewing Chairman Rodriguez last fall as we were kicking off this work to hear from him about some of the concerns and priorities for the North Fair Oaks community. And we had hoped to come to this board earlier in November in our first round of outreach, but the timing didn't quite work out. So we're very happy to be with you now. The equity program study is developing an equity program that is investing toll revenue in providing mobility benefits to historically underserved communities in San Mateo County. So what this means is that we are looking to invest $1 million in the first year and then $600,000 annually in subsequent years to mobility benefits for low-income disadvantaged communities, including North Fair Oaks, which is one of our identified targeted communities for this program. This is a very groundbreaking effort that is tied to the construction of new express lanes on Highway 101. San Mateo County is the first county in the Bay Area to actually look at doing an equity program associated with the toll lanes. So we're really seeing this as a pilot and trying to develop something that is flexible and can evolve over time as the community's needs change. And obviously with what's been going on with COVID, we know that things are very different right now than they are in normal times. And so we're looking to pilot some strategies that we hope will be useful in the short term, but then also can evolve over time as conditions change. So these are the desired outcomes for our study. I'll just touch on a few. We really want the strategies to benefit underserved communities who live near the 101 and the new lanes, which of course includes North Fair Oaks, as well as people who need to use the highway to get around. We want the program to reflect input from those communities themselves, and we want to encourage, we don't want to be encouraging more driving alone. We know that many people do need to drive because of where they work. So we don't want to disproportionately burden people who do need to drive. At the same time, we want to encourage mode shift to higher occupancy modes where possible. So as I started to mention, we have identified 15 targeted communities for this project, and including North Fair Oaks and the others that you see listed on this map here. And as part of the work for this project, we've been looking at what are the barriers to travel that people experience in these communities. And so this is some of the data that we've analyzed and looked at, again, just focused on low-income people who live in those targeted geographies. We found that a fair amount, a significant number, 12%, don't own or have access to a car for regular use. 8% don't have access to a credit card or a bank account or regular access to the internet or a smartphone. 25%, 1 in 4, feel unsafe walking or biking on streets that are close to 101. And about that number feel that congestion on 101 limits their access to job opportunities. And the last point is that 11% have a disability that makes traveling by transit difficult, and that the percentage of people that have disabilities in these targeted communities is higher than the countywide average. So even though we know that people with disabilities aren't necessarily only living in low-income communities, we do see a higher than average concentration of disabled people in these targeted areas. So last fall, we did do a fair amount of community outreach. We were not able to come to the North Fair Oaks Community Council then, but we did go and talk to a lot of other communities and working with nonprofit organizations and holding public meetings. And some of the key takeaways that we heard from the community in that phase were that that public transportation is unreliable. It's not necessarily frequent enough or get them where they need to go in a timely way. That the cost of transportation is a real challenge, and that can include, of course, the cost of owning a car and driving it, but also transit can also be out of reach for many people, particularly Caltrain and BART, which are more expensive modes. And that's just that so much traffic, particularly around the freeways, is a real barrier for people who are trying to get where they need to go. So we heard recommendations from the community that programs to help low-income drivers use the lanes would be really valued, that having more frequent and reliable public transportation would be a benefit. Improving sidewalk and bicycle infrastructure is actually something we've heard a lot about from folks from North Fair Oaks. Which we know that North Fair Oaks is one of the areas that does see fairly high rates of pedestrian and bicycle collisions and fatalities within San Mateo County. So we heard a lot of feedback that we should really be thinking about making it safer for walkers and bikers, and strategies to address the high cost of transit through, for example, discounted or free transit fares. And really that any program should be easy to access. We don't want to make it difficult for people to receive these benefits. So we've gone through this process of developing a set of alternatives. I won't go through everything on this slide, just to say that we now have 4 alternatives that we are evaluating, and that's really what we want to get your feedback on tonight. We're doing a round of outreach now, including coming to you and coming to many other community forums throughout the county. And then we're also doing a technical evaluation of these 4 alternatives to pick one that then we will move to implement. So the 4 alternatives, I want to just walk them through with you, and then would really love to hear your thoughts and feedback on the 4 alternatives and which you think might work best for North Fair Oaks and for the people and community residents in North Fair Oaks. The first one is to provide preloaded $50 toll tags. Now, these are the Fast Track Flex transponders. Many of us have the old Fast Track in our vehicles. This is different because it allows you to say whether you have 1 person, 2 people, or 3 people in the car. And that's really important because for these new express lanes, if you're driving alone, you have to pay the full cost of the express lane. If you're driving with 3 or more people, it's free. And if you have 2 people, it's a discount. So having this toll tag is necessary for people to use the lanes. Even if you want a carpool and it would be free, you still have to have this toll transponder. So what this alternative would do is essentially provide free toll transponders with $50 credit loaded on at the beginning of the program. And that's important because otherwise, if people are buying it with cash up front, there is a required $50 minimum plus a $20 security deposit to buy one of these toll tags outright. So what this does is it gets over that barrier that would prevent people from using the lanes by making sure they have the transponder and can use it for free as a carpool, or can add more cash to it if they want to pay to use the lanes. The second alternative is to provide funding for people, benefits for people to ride transit. So this is what we're calling cash on Clipper. It would give qualifying individuals $50 a year that they can use on any transit service that accepts Clipper. So that could be Samtrans, it could be Caltrain, it could be BART, it could be VTA or Muni, wherever they need to go. And we think about, the budget allows for about 10,000 individuals per year to receive that benefit. The third option that we're looking at is around making it safer to bike and walk and get to transit in neighborhoods where we know that is a challenge, and I would put North Fair Oaks in that category. So this would build safety improvements like bike lanes, crosswalks, ADA ramps. It could include upgrading intersections that are currently where people need to cross, but where it's currently not safe for pedestrians, things like that. So the idea here is that communities could apply for the funding, that there would be every year, there would be a call for projects, and communities could apply for funding, but again, only in those targeted 15 geographies that we've identified, including North Fair Oaks would be one of the 15 communities that would be eligible to apply for these funds. And our fourth and final alternative is around a carpool rewards program. So this would provide a carpool cash benefit of up to $50 per year for both people who are either driving in a carpool or passengers in that carpool lane. And what this does is it allows people to use the express lanes. Again, the express lanes are free if you have 3 or more people in a carpool, and it's discounted if you have 2 people in the carpool. So people would be able to use the lanes for free and then also get cash back for choosing to carpool. So for people who need to drive to get to work, but who have the ability to carpool with somebody who works near them and lives near them, this provides a real financial benefit for those individuals. So we are, as I said, we're seeking your input on those 4 alternatives and would love to hear your reactions to it. And just so you know where we're going from here, we're analyzing the 4 alternatives, getting feedback, and then we're going to select and recommend one alternative that could be one of these 4, or it could be a hybrid. It could be a combination of multiple. We're going to take to the board to adopt in May, that will then roll out as the express lanes open over the course of the next 6 to 12 months. So I just want to add one other thing, which is that we are doing a virtual community meeting that's going to be simultaneously translated into Spanish, Cantonese, and Mandarin. That's coming up in a couple of weeks, and we would love your support and help getting the word out about this meeting with your networks, so that we can really hear directly from the individuals who live in the community to hear what would really most benefit them. So here's just some discussion questions we'd love your feedback on, and I will stop there and see if there's any questions, and also open it up to hear your thoughts and your feedback. Thank you so much for your attention.
Could you possibly flip back, Autumn, to the slide that has the 4 alternatives on there, so we can refresh our memories on this?
Sure.
I thought I saw a summary slide at the beginning.
I don't think we have one that has all 4, unfortunately,
Okay.
and that's too bad. We should. But I can just quickly share them again. The $50 preloaded toll tags for using the new express lanes. The $50 cash on Clipper card, the bicycle and pedestrian safety improvements, and then the carpool, cash for carpool. Those are the 4 options.
Are there any questions of Autumn from the council members?
Through the chair, I raised my hand, Brooks. I'll just
Please go ahead, Linda. Please go ahead.
Okay. Autumn, is your group working with the Silicon Valley Bicycle Coalition?
Thanks for the question. And yeah, we just earlier this week actually presented to Team C, which is a kind of a coalition of the various nonprofits and advocates for sustainable transportation in the county. And the Silicon Valley Bicycle Coalition was part of that meeting and did provide some good feedback. So they have been engaged through this process. Yeah.
Oh, good, because they've been partners in North Fair Oaks for many years and have done a lot of did a lot of surveys, and I just want to make sure that there was a connection. Thank you.
Thank you.
I also had my hand up, Brooks, if I may.
There we are. Go ahead, Juan Carlos.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Autumn, just so I'm clear, as we move forward to 2021 and the express lanes become, usable and to our community members, do we need to, people need to have two different tags or just the one that you showed there with the 1, 2, or 3 passenger ones?
So if people just want to use the express lanes as a solo driver and pay the full price, you can use your old, the one that you already have, the regular fast track. If they want to be able to get the discount of being a carpooler, then they do need the new one.
But only so the new one is all you would need. You could also use a new one for bridges also.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Once you have the new one, you can get rid of the old one. That's right.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I see Everardo has his hand up.
Yes, thank you. A couple of questions. The first one is,
did Everardo freeze?
I think he's frozen in time.
I think he's frozen. Blair, you've got your hand up as well. Do you have a question?
A comment. So high occupancy vehicle lanes, carpools are turning into hot lanes, which adds the toll thing. And so it's like a taking of some public goods and semi-privatizing it. And this piece is how we preserve equity for all the segments of the community. And it sounds like it's going to the Board of Supervisors. Personally, why have 4 alternatives? Why not just do them all? Because we're so underserved. I did a research paper looking at Cal Poly SLO and Davis and Palo Alto Stanford, and they got this like Go Pass where everyone that's a staff member or a faculty member or a student gets like $100, and you can use it for a bike locker. You get a Caltrans pass, you get this, you get that. And then they replicated it for businesses in the Stanford Research Park. So yeah, obviously the rich people and they're well endowed as a university, but we're well endowed as a county. And I think we can afford to invest in our communities with a vital network of amenities for active transportation, walking and biking, and a mechanism for people that don't have cars to get into casual commutes, like the multicultural center. We should give them a couple passes, and they should be able to carpool to the day labor jobs that they get hooked up with. There's a lot of people that are off the grid, and I get that. I've been economically disadvantaged myself, and just trying to get from here to a hospital at the VA, the buses and the shuttles, and it's a pain in the butt. And you got to do what you got to do. And if it was like take a bus here and then a shuttle there and then walk up a hill, you do what you got to do. But there's a lot of people that are trying to support kids and family in this community that may or may not have even filled up the census, that, they're driving a lot and they're taking the bus, and I see them on bicycles going to job sites. Everything that people could be using is being used. And as we're building for the future, it shouldn't just all be about cars. It should be about options. If they get away with privatizing more of the federal freeways, they're going to privatize the state highway like El Camino, maybe eventually San Francisco is going to become like toll entry, like London. All this stuff could be happening in the future. And as that happens, you know, those with the least money are left out. It's like a very expensive boutique thing for the richest people with Range Rovers, and everyone else is, you know, hey, you can maybe visit on the train once a month. All right, that's all I got.
I see Ever's back, has his hand up. Ever?
Yeah, sorry, my connection got a little unstable, so I am cutting my video, but I wanted to second Blair's sentiment about, you know, it is going to be very difficult to minimize the number of cars out there, and I think that what may end up happening is that, you know, people with money would be able to get through faster, and people who don't have the means to pay for the express lane, they'll just be more crammed because now they're losing, you know, 1 or 2 carpool lanes that before they could use. But from those options, you know, if there's no option, if you know, if we as a society are proceeding with this system, then I think that probably from those options, the best, in my opinion, would be number 1, the free toll tags, essentially because at least that makes it easier for the a person to acquire the device, you know, already incentivized with a little bit of money. And so I think that that may end up working better than from other options. Particularly, I'll be against option number 3, which is the place-based improvement, essentially because infrastructure, you know, I think that that should take place, that type of betterment should happen regardless. So it shouldn't be given to our community as a prize. And in any case, you know, before we have been promised, you know, improvements, and for one reason or another, you know, they don't happen. So I think, you know, what benefits the individual would be the best in this particular case. So I would be inclined to support the first option of the free toll tax. Thank you.
Linda has her hand up as well. Linda, go ahead.
Autumn, have you done outreach with the youth groups, such as the Siena Youth Center and Boys and Girls Club? Those centers provide services for North Fair Oaks youth.
I'm going to ask my colleague Lacey Vong, who is on the call, to chime in. She's been kind of keeping tabs on the list of folks we're reaching out to, and she may be able to answer that question.
Because they have real strong opinions about bicycle trails, and also for the high school students who are actually driving cars, or maybe going to junior college, or, you know, out and about. So yeah, they have very strong, they're very opinionated, and I think it's important to have that youth perspective. Thank you, Autumn.
Hi, Linda, this is Lacey. Thank you guys for having us here. I just want to let you know that, so actually, if you could drop those in the chat, that would be helpful. We did reach out, as Autumn said earlier, that we did present to Team C. We reached out to YLI, so the Youth Leadership Institute. We do think it's important because we have the bike ped option. And I think when Autumn ran through her slides, you know, we noticed that if you notice that that option included looking at eligibility requirements that were for younger folks as well too. So we thought that was important too. But those groups were not, but if you could share those with us, that would be great.
Sure, I will. Thank you.
Are there any other questions from council members? I'll ask, and Ever stated his preference for the first alternative. I liked that one as well. Do any of the council members have a preference for any of the other alternatives? I don't believe we need a motion then, but would our recommendation, our feedback to Autumn and her team be that that number one is the one that we would prefer?
I'd like to second that motion, Brooks.
I don't know if we need I don't believe we need a vote on this, but call for the question. Let's do a roll call vote.
Yeah, it's
Sandy,
not
if we need to.
it's not an action item, but
I didn't think so, Linda.
it's a
Yeah.
support, but it's showing support.
Okay.
It's nothing wrong with, I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it.
Let's do a roll call then on the motion of recommending the first alternative.
Okay, great. Chair Brooks Esser,
Yes.
Vice Chair Juan Carlos Prado,
Yes.
Councilmember Everardo Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilmember Linda Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Blair Whitney,
No.
Councilmember Jennifer Ruiz,
Yes.
Councilmember Joni Gillespie. Okay, and that's it.
Thank you very much for the feedback. It's really helpful. Appreciate
Okay,
you.
well, thank you for your presentation. Next agenda item is a presentation from the Southeast San Mateo County Community-Based Transportation Plan. Presenting will be Greg Goodfellow, Senior Associate of PlaceWorks, and Susie Kalkin, who's a Transportation Systems Coordinator for the County of San Mateo. We have Greg.
Actually, if I might, I'd just like to do just a brief introduction. I'm Susie Kalkin with CCAG, actually. Just wanted to let you know that about 2 years ago, CCAG was awarded a grant from MTC to prepare community-based transportation plans in the county. And these are plans that focus on the transportation needs of defined areas known as communities of concern. And as the name implies, it's intended that these be ground up planning processes with community members engaged in identifying the transportation gaps and to helping to develop the programs and plans to address the issues. So CCAG has retained PlaceWorks to help us develop the plan. And so tonight we have Greg Goodfellow with us, who's going to give a brief overview of the progress to date. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Greg. Thank you.
Oh,
I'm not able to hear Greg, although it doesn't look like he's muted. Let me see if there's something.
We lost your audio, Greg.
That's strange. It's showing up as his mic is open, but I do not hear him.
Yeah, through the chair, maybe if Sandy can remove them from the panelists.
Oh, wait, how about now, folks?
There we
yeah,
go.
there you go.
There you are, Greg.
I'm sorry, I had to switch my microphone. I think that, okay. Well, what I was saying, first of all, was thank you, Chair. And that might be the first time you've heard that. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And let me get my screen here. Okay, are we all on my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, well, as Susie mentioned, PlaceWorks is working on 2 community-based transportation plans for CCAG. And my goals are twofold. First of all, just to introduce the council to the CBTP process, what they are, and second, to increase participation and stakeholder involvement in the plans. Okay, so what are community-based transportation plans? Very quickly. About 20 years ago, or just 20 years ago, MTC delivered a white paper about increasing or decreasing mobility gaps in underserved communities. And the basic finding of the paper was that the way to do that is through, as Susie mentioned, ground up community planning. These problems can't be solved by traditional outreach going everywhere, distilled everywhere, and or by traditional planning and engineering solutions. We've got to go to those communities directly. And again, as Susie mentioned, these are about improving mobility for, quote, communities of concern in the region. MTC has a basic set of requirements for CBTPs. As I mentioned, inclusive planning. They need to improve a range of transportation choices, i.e. multi-mobility, not just auto-oriented or transit-oriented. And they need to address mobility gaps identified through this very direct outreach to low-income communities. All right, so it helps to understand what is a community of concern. You'll hear it in regional planning parlance throughout the area. It's basically an algorithm made up of 8 variables at the census tract level. The first being minority thresholds, the second being low income, the third, the level of English proficiency, high levels of that, fourth, high levels of the elderly, fifth, high levels of zero vehicle households, 6, single parent households, 7, the disabled, that could be physically, or visually, and 8, rent burden households. So what makes a COC? It's one of 2 things. Either both the low income and minority thresholds within a certain census tract are exceeded, or the low income threshold is exceeded and a combination of 3 of the others. You get one of those 2 things together and you end up with a census tract that is considered a community of concern. So how does that play out in Southeast San Mateo County like this? You see those the purple hash areas. Those are all communities of concern in Southeast San Mateo County. What's interesting about this study area, and is not the case in all, is that they're all contiguous. They're composed of 12 tracks, and they cross a lot of jurisdictional boundaries. They're in East Palo Alto, Menlo Park, Redwood City, NFO, and the unincorporated areas. There are about 70,000 residents, about 19,000 households, composed of about 13,000 families. Also interesting about this large single community of concern is that all 12 tracks are surpass the low income, and all 12 tracks are considered rent burden. That doesn't happen very often across COCs. Those are just 2 very strong indicators of what's happening in terms of challenges in the area. Okay, outreach, obviously a huge part of the CBTP process. MTC also has requirements for the outreach process. First being that a CBTP advisory board should be in place. We have a great one. It's composed of various jurisdictional staff from Samtrans, commute.org, Peninsula Family Services. It's a range of perspectives. And stakeholder involvement. You need to get down there on the street. You need help from CBOs and nonprofits who understand their constituents. Again, this is a key differentiator. It's really easy to distill outreach away from communities of concern. There's a trend to do that when you want to get quantitative outreach. So we really need to focus in on those communities, and that's the value of working with CBOs. And then, of course, your engagement plan needs to be diverse. It can't be a single survey. It can't be a single set of workshops. It should be surveys mixed with workshops, mixed with pop-up events, mixed with mapping exercises, whatever it may be. Excuse me. All right, now we get to this issue of the impacts of COVID on this process, which I can imagine you understand might be serious. First of all, it's going to require creative outreach approaches. Obviously, there are face-to-face restrictions. We need to do distance engagement as best we can. And the real irony here is that when we go towards digital, that's wonderful, but these populations we're reaching are the ones most affected by the digital divide. So we need to be cognizant of that. And that presents its challenge in itself. And it means, we need to take more creative approaches to making sure outreach is accessible, but at the same time safe. The other issue is that the entire mobility landscape for these populations has shifted. In a traditional CBTP, we're asking questions about day-to-day patterns, challenges in those daily habits. Well, communities now face entirely new challenges. They're not commuting to work, their transit habits have changed. So is the information we get going to be relevant to a planning document with a 10-year planning horizon? So we need to think about that in our outreach and make sure we're combining those types of questions. And then of course, there's changes in the Cbo priorities that we're going to work with. A Cbo that may have, a year ago, may have had a lot of time and resources to focus on a niche project like this. They're now focused on pure economic support for their constituents. They're focused on health and lifestyle support. So we need to be cognizant of their resources and make sure to work with them closely in terms of compensation and support throughout this process. All right, so far, this is what we're doing in this project. We've put together a stakeholder survey, which we sent to CBOs, and those are more broad perspectives. Those are questions that are open-ended. What do you see as the challenges your constituents face? Are there examples of food deserts? Are there examples of hospital centers or medical centers that you know are hard to get to for your constituents that may need improving in terms of access and mobility? And we also have a more pointed, more traditional community survey, and those are direct links to that survey right there, that also include COVID impact questions. What challenges have changed in the last year for you? Do you think they'll return to normal? What do you think are the persistent challenges throughout this process? The idea being that we can create a plan that is both relevant to the challenges today and may also or will be relevant in the future into that longer planning horizon. And then finally, we've begun this stakeholder coordination process where we're working with CCAG to put together a compensation package. We've put together a worksheet that describes various levels of support they can provide for us. You know, if they don't have much time, staff, resources now, maybe it's just make sure you get our surveys up on your Facebook, on your social media, or just answer our stakeholder survey. If you have more resources, could we use your network to host a workshop where we'll provide the materials, we'll provide staffing assistance, but it's your constituency that's so important and your trusted environment that will get people to that workshop. Next steps, and this is where I want to bring the NFO and the City Council here, the Community Council into play, is that we really need to increase our survey distribution onto social media for stakeholders, government and local leader organizations, social support centers. We want to solidify these CBO contracts, get them taking the stakeholder surveys and helping us distribute the community survey, working with them to create meetings that we can facilitate with them. And then finally, what happens after this is we'll start developing plans and policies with our advisory board. And to give you an idea of the sort of recommendations that go into a CBTP, we're working, or we've just completed CBTPs in East Contra Costa County. And you can always come up with mobility gaps that need to be filled. But what's useful and vital in a CBTP is getting that information directly from those constituents. For example, we found out in Richmond that one of the main AC transit lines that seniors rely on to get to the Social Security office on a weekly basis stops 2 blocks below the office on a steep hill. So we hear from seniors, you know what, Greg, I can't get out of the bus with my walker and make it up those 2 very steep blocks. I have to have a friend drive me. So one of our plans was, look, we need to take this to AC Transit and recommend that they simply extend this 1 bus line, and that would change the daily, habits and, the quality of life literally for seniors in that area. Or in Pittsburgh Bay Point, we found out that single mothers who take night classes at Los Medanos Community College, the minute they get out of classes at 9 p.m. are when Tri-Delta buses stop. So they can't get home to Antioch. So one of our recommendations to Tri-Delta was, look, these lines that connect this popular community college, they need to be extended further into the evening so students who take night classes can get home. Those are examples of the sort of policy you want to go for. I want to keep moving quickly. So I wanted to leave it to the council to ask comments or questions. I would love specifically to hear if you have ideas for CBOs we should be working with. I could give you a list of the ones we've contacted, but if you have any ideas, that would be great. I would love to share with you our survey flyer, which I did give to Sandra, so you have copies of that. I'm going to leave it at that. In the name of time, I'd love to hear from you.
Open it up to questions from council members. I don't see any raised hands in the room right now. Does anyone have a question for Greg? Okay, seeing none. I should check. Do we have public comment?
If any members participating in this call would like to make a public comment, now would be the time to use the raise hand feature to do that. I don't see any public comments on the Zoom line. Victor, are there any questions on the phone line?
Thank you, Sandra. I don't see any at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Okay,
well, thank you all very much.
Thank you for your presentation, Greg.
Okay, you'll be hearing more about the project in the future, and I appreciate your time.
We'll look forward to that.
Thank you.
See, next item up is report ask. Do we have a supervisor's report this evening?
Hi, this is Mrs. Maggie Cornejo with Supervisor Slocum's office. I want to start off by congratulating the new chair, Brooks. Congratulations and welcome to the job.
Thanks very much, Maggie.
Yeah, and so I have two things to report on. The first thing is about the North Fair Oaks Library transfer. Beginning on March 15, San Mateo County libraries will begin to operating the Fair Oaks branch library from the city of Redwood City. And this transfer will be a big boost for the North Fair Oaks community because it'll mean an increase of hours of operation to the public and an expansion of programs. We are really excited in our office to have this be a good opportunity for the community. And the second thing was that last night, our office in partnership with Caron and Redwood City together, we hosted an all Spanish Facebook Live on COVID vaccine, everything you need to know. We had a group of panelists that included Ileana Rodriguez, Deputy County Manager, Claudia Flores, who is a SMC health representative, Sheila Castillo, who is a Ravenswood nurse manager, and Dr. Susan Thorne, who works at Kaiser Permanente in Redwood City, and as well as Armando Ramirez, who is a North Fair Oaks Community Council member. The purpose of the event was to have a group of experts talk about the COVID vaccine and answer questions from the community. We had a total of 175 comments and 44 shares. And as of now, I think it's close to 2,000 views, which means that people are sharing the information and passing it along, which is something that we're really proud of. Our office is going to continue to hold Facebook Live events on more topics that are of interest to the community, and we look forward to them. And that concludes my report, unless if there's any questions or comments.
Yeah, through the chair, Maggie, I just wanted to congratulate you because I was there on the live event last night, and it was very informative, and you put together a great panel of healthcare professionals and community members, and it was very well done. So I wanted to publicly congratulate you on that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It was a team effort. Definitely a lot of work went on behind the scenes, but we are very proud of the outcome.
Quick question on that, Maggie. What was the attendance like at that session?
I think at one point we had 90 views.
Oh, that's terrific.
Yeah, and I think for the most part, there was a range of between 80 and 90 all the way. Started at 6 and it ended at 7. And from our partners who have been doing this a lot more than I have, they said that having 90 views at the for the entire event is really successful. And now it's, the word is spreading.
Oh, that's terrific.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Maggie?
Yeah, one more on the library, and I know the supervisor had been working on this project for a long time. Is there going to be any kind of inaugural event or any, public recognition done here at our library here in North Fair Oaks? Any kind of public event that you can share with us?
I'm not sure. I'm not aware of anything on the works right now. I think if it was like a different time where it's not COVID, I feel like maybe we would be planning something. But as of right now, I'm not sure if we will have something that will be like inaugurating the library. But we'll keep you posted in case those plans do change.
Yes, please. I appreciate it because it's a tremendous benefit to our community, and like you said, the extended hours and the additional resources that the library will now be able to provide to our community is really important and valuable. And I think that as we in the community and the kids and students are slowly transitioning into a hybrid kind of half school, half home model, certainly libraries are becoming more and more important for our community, which many families are very limited on Wi-Fi access and resource information when it comes to the library. So I think this is coming at a very important time, this big change. So if there's anything to report on that in the future, I would greatly appreciate it, and for the community.
Yeah, thank you. I'll make a note of that.
Yeah, I got the email, in fact, just today from the San Mateo County Libraries, and their lead story in their newsletter was the addition of the North Fair Oaks Library to that system. So, and when you read through this and just see all the benefits that's going to provide, it is indeed a good thing for the community.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else, Maggie?
I don't have anything else.
Okay, move on to the county manager's report. Justin, do you have anything tonight?
Yes, good evening, everybody. I just wanted to follow up one thing on the question to Maggie about the library event. Yes, I think under ordinary circumstances, there certainly would be a nice big rollout, but obviously with COVID, that's in the works right now. But I know that, I work with the library director, and I sit on the operations committee for the JPA, and know that they're very excited to add the Fair Oaks branch to the family, and excited to start even rolling out the additional curbside hours that the JPA runs right away. But also, I know they're already starting to plan out all the broader rollout once the pandemic allows. And I think an event would be a great idea. From the county manager's report, I don't have much. I just want to give some just high level report on the vaccine rollout, which I know is a topic that everyone is very interested in. I know there is a lot to be concerned about. There's a lot that people are anxious about, but there are some promising statistics, and I wanted to share those with everyone tonight. We've administered almost 200,000 doses of the vaccine in our county. And that's 140,000 individuals in our county. We have reached over 60% of our 65 plus population. And so, that's a good substantial amount of our older adults, those who are most at risk for complications and serious consequences from getting COVID. There's still a lot of work to be done. There's still large segments of our population who are not yet eligible for the vaccine and who are, of course, going to want the vaccine and going to get the vaccine in the coming weeks and months. But we've made pretty good progress in our 65 plus, and we'll continue to work at that. This week, new individuals became eligible for the vaccine, as you may have heard, primarily those in the employment categories of food and agriculture and education and childcare, as well as emergency services. So things are continuing to roll on, but we are also continuing to emphasize the remaining 65 plus of our county who are so important to get vaccinated. Other than that, I'm happy to take any questions, but I don't have anything more for the county manager's report.
Just a quick question on the vaccine rollout, Justin. Doing the math, we have 200,000 doses over 140,000 individuals. If each is to get 2, that means we'll need another 80,000 doses to get those people both of their shots. Do we have a reasonable assurance that those doses are going to be available for the people that have already had the first one?
Yes, you asked a good question, Brooks, and I rounded up the numbers. It's 195,000 individuals and 140,000. So about 55,000 have received both doses, and the remainder still need to get their second doses. Yes, the way it typically works is whatever provider gave you your first dose will be scheduling you for your second dose. The state has assured everybody that they will continue to supply enough so that everybody has the second dose that when the time comes, and they've made that assurance over and over again. They no longer want providers, including the county, to set aside a second dose. They are promising to always give enough on the second dose, and I have not heard any reports of second doses not being allotted. And so I think the way the state has it worked now, that a given week you might reduce as many first doses you would give in order to make sure that everybody who needs a second dose that week gets a second dose. But that's a key part of the state's framework.
Got it. That's great, Justin. Sounds good. I see Beatrice has her hand raised.
Yes. Yesterday, Wednesday, it was the tier that included childcare and educators, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of educators, staff that work in person at schools participated. And I was getting feedback today of those that went to the San Mateo County Event Center. And they said that it was very, very orderly. It was a very well-run, smooth operation. Cars were lining up. They were just handling the volume. That it was just amazing just to see. And I personally went to Kaiser, the same thing, volume, hundreds and hundreds of people arriving, but everything very, very orderly.
That's fantastic to hear.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Justin? Okay, next up we have council members report out. I believe Ever had to leave early. Juan Carlos, do you have a report out for this month?
No, I have not ever had that. Unfortunately, we didn't catch that on time. Yeah.
Okay. Beatrice, a report out for this month, community activities, anything like that?
No, just that I participated in the vaccine, which I thought was really good, because what I found amazing was the amount of information we were getting. I was getting information from the county, from the city, from the school district, pharmacy. So I just found there was a buzz about how coordinated this information was coming to us at all levels. There was different places where you could sign up for information, and how easy it was to navigate, getting the latest info. So, and I thought that for the volume of people wanting the information, I felt that it was really easy to navigate.
I would like to add, if I may, through the chair, just to piggyback on what Beatrice is doing. As an educator, I've also been vaccinated, and I didn't have any issue on the second vaccine. It was done in a very timely manner, well organized. Of course, obviously having the appointment is very essential.
Mm-hmm.
Although some people, I understand, do show up just in case some people don't show up to the appointment, because the vaccines have to be used.
Right.
Once they're allocated to be used, they have to be used. Otherwise, they have to be disposed of, and that, of course, would be a tremendous shame. So anyway, I just want to also speak to that, like Beatrice. It was a great experience. Yeah.
Good to hear. Going down the list, Linda, anything to report out this month?
Yeah, the county has formulated a working group, seems like months ago. It's called the San Mateo County Vaccine Communication and Equity Working Group. And they've been meeting Thursday mornings, 10 o'clock, 10 to 12. And it's just been the ongoing committee work of putting together plans to best to create the best talking points and best strategies in getting the word out about vaccines to the communities throughout San Mateo County. So it's not just North Fair Oaks, but that's a group that if someone is interested in getting more information, you can contact, probably I would just go straight to Peggy Jensen's office and get the information, or Emma Gonzalez also has the information on that. And the second group through the county is the San Mateo County Recovery, and they specifically set up an economic committee, and they're actually having a meeting next Wednesday, March 3rd, to speak to small business issues. So that's additional information if someone is interested in that. The Bay Area Water Supply and Conservation Agency, along with Peninsula Clean Energy, have started some webinars on regional water issues. So that's another area if someone is interested in, and I've attended all the initial workshops on these. That's another area if someone is interested in getting more information about our water source and what the challenges are, is, are we ready to, be, if impacted by something, is San Mateo County ready? So these are all regional, but as it pertains to North Fair Oaks, there are specific issues. And let's see, is there something else? No, I think that is it. Oh, no, very important. San Mateo County has a Housing Community Development Committee that meets once a year. And there are some empty seats on that committee. So if anyone is interested in working with that committee around housing issues, I believe there is a member at large position on that committee, but it's time to fill the seat. So if anyone from the council is interested, you can get the information directly from me. I've been a member of that committee for a number of years, and basically we only meet during each fiscal cycle. So it's several meetings per year. But anyway, that is, again, it's countywide, yet speaks to specific communities such as North Fair Oaks. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you for your report out on all of your activities, Linda. That's terrific.
But my point is to get others involved.
Understand too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Could you send a note? Is that excuse me, folks, I'm learning how to do this. I was going to suggest that Linda send a note out with some of the details on that, but I'm not so sure that isn't a Brown Act violation. Is that true, Tim? If we were to have her just send the details out of the different organizations that she's engaged in, the ones that she just reported out on?
Well, I'm sorry, Tim. I was going to say for the county vaccine communications and the county's business recovery, those two, you can either go, I would guess you can just go through Emma Gonzalez or directly through Peggy Jensen's office.
I just wanted to give people some way to close the loop there.
Yeah, some of the other ones, I mean, I have the information, but however you want to do it.
Through the chair, if I just might make a recommendation, if anyone is interested in learning more about these organizations, to reach out to either Emma or Sandy, please, and we'll get you more information.
Okay.
Thanks very much, Justin. Thank you.
Yeah, gladly.
Looking at Jennifer, any report out tonight?
No report tonight.
Okay, and Blair?
Well, we all survived 2020.
and we're all excited to start 2021 with a new chair and the vice chair. I really appreciate what Linda was doing because I voiced earlier that I want to be more involved, and I need to perk up and listen for these opportunities and follow up. I'm very interested in open space, water policy, housing policy. So I think each of us, as we find things that we love or care about, we got to raise our hand and say, hey, tell me more. Who do I contact? And I'll do my part to follow up with the Office of Community Affairs, who are a great ongoing resource. And I'm glad we're not an all volunteer council like that other one that has to run their own website. Thanks.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn with a reminder. Our next council meeting, actually, the agenda had our next meeting as Thursday, March 25th, but there is indeed a study session, as it is an odd numbered month, that'll take place on the 18th of next month. So if I can get a motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, and good night, everyone. We'll talk again on the 18th of next month.
Thanks, Brooke.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Jennifer, good to hear.